Have you ever fallen in love with someone who felt like a beautiful mystery? Someone who drew you in with their depth, their independence, their quiet strength, only to leave you standing alone, wondering why the closer you tried to get, the further they seemed to drift away? Or perhaps you're the one who does the drifting, the one who feels the spark, who lets someone in just enough to feel the warmth, only to find yourself suddenly suffocating, pulling back, creating distance where moments before there was desire. This is the painful reality of avoidant attachment in romantic love, where the very thing you long for becomes the thing you fear most. On the surface, it looks like someone who won't commit, someone who keeps you at arm's length, someone who seems emotionally unavailable, cool, and distant. But beneath that surface, there's often a heart that wants badly to love and be loved, trapped in a body that screams danger every time things get too close. Because here's what most people don't understand about avoidant attachment in romance. It's not that they don't feel love, it's that feeling that love scares them to death. Scientists call this the closeness problem. The closer someone gets, the more the alarm bells ring. The more someone shows they care, the more scary it becomes. And so the avoidant partner begins to pull back. Not because they don't care, but because caring this much feels like losing themselves. Dr. Sue Johnson, who created a therapy method for couples, explains it perfectly. She says that for the avoidant partner, getting close feels like being swallowed whole, like disappearing into another person's needs and losing the self they've worked so hard to protect. Let me paint you a picture. You meet someone, and the chemistry is undeniable. The early days are amazing. They're there, engaged, maybe even passionate. You think, finally, someone real. But then something changes. As feelings grow deeper, as you naturally begin to want more time together, more conversation, more emotional sharing, they begin to pull away. They become busy. They need space. They grow cold when you express feelings. They might even start fights over small things, creating conflict as a way to push you away. And you're left confused, hurt, wondering what changed. Did you do something wrong? Did you ask for too much? Are you too needy? Too demanding? But here's the truth. You didn't change. Their fear kicked in. See, for someone with avoidant attachment, the beginning of a relationship feels safe because it's still light, still surface level. But as emotional closeness grows, as being open increases, as the relationship begins to need more emotional energy, their body sees this as danger, not on purpose. They're not sitting there thinking, I need to ruin this. It's deeper than that. It's a protection method learned long ago when closeness meant disappointment, when depending on someone meant pain, when opening up meant being let down. And so the body does what it was trained to do. It creates distance to stay safe. Research backs this up. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people with avoidant attachment actually experience physical stress when their partners seek closeness. Their heart rate increases, their stress hormones spike, and their body literally tells them to run. It's not a choice, it's a programmed response. Now here's where it gets even more complicated. The avoidant partner often doesn't even realize they're doing this. They truly believe their reasons for pulling back. I'm just really focused on work right now. I'm not sure I'm ready for something serious. I need to work on myself first. And these aren't lies, they feel true. But underneath, there's something else happening. A fear so deep they can't quite name it. The fear of being swallowed up, of losing independence, of needing someone who might leave. Experts Amir Levine and Rachel Heller wrote a book called Attached, where they explain that avoidant people have what they call turning off strategies. When closeness makes them anxious, they unconsciously use tricks to create emotional distance. They might focus too much on their partner's problems. Suddenly, the person they loved becomes someone whose laugh is annoying, whose needs are too much, whose presence is choking. They might dream about past relationships, or imagine perfect partners who don't exist, using these fantasies to make what's right in front of them seem less valuable. They might push down their own feelings, convincing themselves they don't really care that much anyway. Or they might simply withdraw, becoming less responsive, less available, less emotionally there. And for the partner on the receiving end, this is torture, because you can feel them slipping away, but you can't understand why. You try harder, you reach out more, you share your feelings more clearly, hoping that if they just understood how much you care, they'd come back. But here's the painful twist. The more you chase, the more they run. It's what experts call the chase-run pattern, or the anxious avoidant trap. Your chasing proves their fear that relationships are suffocating. Their running proves your fear that you're not worthy of love. And so the dance continues. both of you caught in a cycle that hurts you both. But let's pause here and ask something important. What does love actually feel like for the avoidant partner? Because they do love, often deeply, but their love is quiet. It shows up in actions rather than words, in being reliable rather than making big romantic gestures. They might not say "I love you" easily, but they'll show up when you need help moving. They might not want to talk about feelings, but they'll remember the small things you mentioned weeks ago. They love with their hands, with dependability, with the steady presence of someone who won't let you down in practical ways. The problem is, this often isn't enough for their partner, who needs emotional closeness, words of love, and deep connection. And so both people end up feeling unloved. The avoidant partner feels unappreciated for the ways they do show love. The other partner feels starved for the emotional closeness they crave. It's two people speaking different languages, both feeling misunderstood. Now here's something interesting that research shows. Avoidant people often choose partners who are more anxiously attached, though they might not realize it. Why? A study in the journal Personal Relationships found that avoidants are actually attracted to anxious partners initially because their warmth and openness feel flattering and validating. But as the relationship deepens, the very qualities that attracted them become too much. The anxious partner's need for reassurance feels like pressure. Their emotional expression feels like intensity. Their desire for closeness feels like suffocation, and the cycle begins. But here's where understanding becomes crucial, because if you're the avoidant partner, recognizing this pattern is the first step to breaking it. You might notice that every relationship follows the same story: excitement, then panic, closeness, then running, getting close, then sabotage. And you might wonder, why do I keep doing this? The answer isn't that you're broken or can't love. It's that your nervous system is still running an old program, one written in childhood when closeness meant danger. And the beautiful truth is this: programs can be rewritten, attachment styles can change, safety can be learned, but it requires something terrifying. It requires you to stay when every part of you wants to run. It requires you to feel the discomfort of closeness without pulling back. It requires you to talk about your needs instead of silently disappearing. It requires you to trust that being open won't destroy you. And if you're the partner of someone avoidant, understanding this pattern can save you from blaming yourself for their pulling away. It's not about your worth, it's about their wiring. But here's what you also need to know. Understanding isn't the same as accepting bad treatment. You can have compassion for their struggle while also honoring your own needs. You can give them space while also sharing your boundaries. You can be patient while also knowing that you deserve someone who can meet you emotionally. Because love should not feel like constantly chasing someone who's always running. Healthy relationships need two people who can both give and receive, who can be close without losing themselves, who can be open without feeling destroyed. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go, not because you don't care, but because staying means abandoning yourself. Think about what research tells us. A study in the journal Attachment and Human Development found that avoidant individuals report lower relationship satisfaction, not because they care less, but because they struggle more with the very behaviors that create closeness, like self-disclosure, emotional expression, and seeking comfort from their partner. They want love, but they can't do the things that build it. But what about the possibility of healing together? Can an avoidant partner learn to stay? Can they learn to handle the discomfort of closeness? Yes, but only if they want to. Only if they see the pattern and commit to changing it. Therapy, particularly attachment-focused therapy or emotionally focused therapy, can be life-changing. It helps avoidant people understand that their fear of being swallowed up is based on past experiences, not present reality. It teaches them that being open is not weakness, that needing someone is not losing yourself, that closeness can exist alongside independence. But this work is hard. It means sitting with uncomfortable feelings instead of running from them. It means learning to share needs instead of pretending they don't exist. It means staying in conversations that feel too intense instead of shutting down. It means noticing when you're creating distance and choosing connection instead. And for their partner, it means learning to give space without feeling rejected. It means sharing needs clearly without demanding. It means celebrating small steps toward closeness instead of focusing on what's still missing. It means understanding that healing isn't a straight line and that patience is part of love. Here's what many people don't realize. The avoidant partner isn't trying to hurt you. They're trying to protect themselves. Every time they pull away, they're listening to an ancient alarm system that once kept them safe. And breaking free from that system takes huge courage, because it means choosing love over safety, being open over control, connection over independence. Think about it. In a world that celebrates independence, that praises self-sufficiency, that values emotional toughness, the avoidant attachment style almost seems like a strength. But is it? Or is it a prison disguised as freedom? Because true freedom isn't about keeping everyone at a distance. True freedom is being able to choose closeness without fear. It's knowing you can be open and still be whole. It's trusting that someone can see all of you and not leave. That's the freedom avoidant partners are actually searching for, even if they don't know it yet. So if you're in a relationship with someone avoidant, ask yourself this. Are they aware of their pattern and actively working to change it? Or are they simply expecting you to accept the emotional crumbs they offer? Because awareness and effort make all the difference. An avoidant partner who recognizes their habit of pulling away and actively practices staying, who goes to therapy, who talks about their fears instead of acting them out, that's someone capable of growth. But an avoidant partner who refuses to see the pattern, who blames you for needing too much, who insists that you're the problem, that's not someone ready for the closeness you deserve. And if you're the avoidant one, ask yourself this. What are you actually protecting yourself from? Is the danger real, or is it a ghost from your past? Is being alone truly safer than connection, or is it just familiar? What would happen if you stopped running? What if you stayed in the discomfort just a little longer? What if you let someone truly see you and discovered that you don't disappear? Because here's the deepest truth about avoidant attachment in romantic relationships. Love will always require being open. Always. There is no version of closeness that doesn't ask you to risk being hurt. And the avoidant partner's greatest fear, being consumed, being lost, being hurt, is the same fear everyone faces when they choose to love. The difference is that some people have learned to walk through that fear, while others are still running from it. But running doesn't make you safe. It makes you alone, and there comes a point in every avoidant person's life when they must choose. Do I want to be safe, or do I want to be loved? Because you can't have both. Not really. Love requires risk. Connection requires being open. Closeness requires trust. And all of that feels dangerous when your body was trained to see closeness as pain. But here's what the avoidant heart secretly knows. Even when the mind denies it, loneliness hurts worse than being open. Being isolated aches deeper than the risk of being hurt. And a life spent pushing people away is not freedom. It's a cage you built yourself. Let me share something from my own observation of countless relationships. I've seen avoidant partners who finally broke through their walls. And you know what they all had in common? They all reached a breaking point. A moment where the loneliness became louder than the fear. A moment where they looked at their pattern and said, I'm tired of running. A moment where they chose courage over comfort. And that moment is available to anyone, but it has to be chosen. No one can force it. No partner can love someone into that choice. It has to come from within. So perhaps the question isn't, how do I protect myself from closeness? But rather, how do I learn to stay when my instinct is to run? Because staying is where love lives. Staying when it's uncomfortable. Staying when you want to pull back. Staying when being open feels like death. That's where change happens. That's where avoidant attachment begins to lose its grip. That's where you discover that closeness won't destroy you. It might actually save you. And for those who love someone avoidant, remember this. You cannot love someone into feeling secure. You cannot care enough to heal their wounds. You cannot be perfect enough to make them stay. Their healing is their own journey. All you can do is show up consistently, share your needs clearly, and decide whether this relationship feeds you or drains you. Because love should not feel like begging someone to stay. It should feel like two people choosing each other again and again, not out of fear or duty, but out of genuine desire to build something together. I want to be honest with you about something. Relationships with avoidant partners can work, but they require immense patience, clear communication, and most importantly, the avoidant partner's active participation in healing. Without that last piece, you're just signing up for heartbreak. You'll give and give, understanding and accommodating, while they continue to run. And that's not a relationship. That's you doing all the emotional work while they stay comfortable in their fear. But when an avoidant partner does the work, when they face their fears, when they practice staying instead of running, something beautiful can happen. They learn that closeness doesn't mean losing themselves. They discover that being needed doesn't make them weak. They find that love can coexist with independence. And slowly the relationship transforms from a constant push-pull into something stable, something real, something that nourishes both people. Here's what I want you to understand if you're avoidant. Your fear makes sense. Given what you learned as a child, Given how you had to protect yourself, your fear is completely logical. But just because it makes sense doesn't mean it serves you anymore. That fear was your shield when you were small and powerless, but you're not that child anymore. You're an adult who can choose differently. You can choose to stay even when it's scary. You can choose to trust even when it feels risky. You can choose love even when your body screams danger. And each time you make that choice, you teach your nervous system something new. You show it that closeness can be safe. That being open doesn't mean being destroyed. That love doesn't have to hurt. And if you're loving someone avoidant, here's what I want you to know. You are not responsible for fixing them. You are not required to stay in a relationship that leaves you feeling unloved, unseen, or unimportant. You can have compassion for their journey while also honoring your own needs. And sometimes the most loving thing for both of you is to walk away, not with anger or blame, but with the understanding that you deserve someone who can meet you where you are, not where you hope they'll someday be. Because hope is not a strategy for relationships, action is. And if your partner isn't taking action to change their patterns, to face their fears, to show up for you emotionally, then all the hope in the world won't change your reality. So whether you're the one pushing away or the one being pushed, know this. Avoidant attachment in romance is not a life sentence. It's a pattern, and patterns can change. But change requires awareness, courage, and the willingness to risk the very thing you fear most. Connection. Because at the end of the day, we are not built to love from a distance. We are not designed to go through life untouched, unseen, unknown. We are built for connection, for closeness, for the messy, scary, beautiful vulnerability of being truly known by another person. And the person who learns to stop running and start staying, they're the one who finally discovers what love actually feels like. Not perfect, not painless, but real, and worth every moment of the fear. So here's my invitation to you. If you're avoidant, consider this. What would your life look like if you stopped running? Who would you be if you allowed yourself to need someone? What could you experience if you stayed through the discomfort just one more time? And if you love someone avoidant, ask yourself, is this person actively working to change, or am I holding on to potential instead of reality? Am I being patient, or am I abandoning myself? Is this love nourishing me or slowly breaking me? These are not easy questions, but they're honest ones. And honesty is where transformation begins. For both the person running and the person chasing, the path forward requires the same thing: the courage to face the truth. The truth is that love requires risk. The truth is that closeness requires trust. The truth is that a real connection can only happen when both people are willing to be seen. So stop running or stop chasing. But either way, stop pretending that distance is the same as safety, because it's not. Distance is just loneliness wearing a disguise. And you, whoever you are, wherever you are in this pattern, you deserve more than that. You deserve love that doesn't require you to disappear. Love that doesn't leave you feeling alone, even when someone's right beside you. Love that feels like home, not a battlefield. And that kind of love is possible, but it requires both people to show up. Fully, honestly, bravely. Are you ready?